Which definitely describes the two that are about to podcast at you right now. Two big babies. One blonde, one just unbelievably handsome. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Henry Rollins. Thank you so much for tuning in. And the other one is...
Heidi May.
There you go. Now, Heidi...
That's actually what you sound like when you lose your eBay bid on those damned acetates.
Heidi May? I'm like a lot of people. I don't like to lose.
You really don't. You are a competitive little sucker.
I can't stand it. Ever since I lost the game of kickball in 1828.
You really are competitive.
I wanted to win. So.
Yes.
Heidi, before we go anywhere,
listen.
Tell the listeners what you just did.
No, I'm not going to. I'll tell them what we did earlier. We got Henry's wig cut, and it looks much better.
You're not going to talk about what you just did.
No, you don't look like a hippie anymore, so that's good.
Thanks. Yes, I went to the barber's. A nice fellow cut my hair, so I look pretty upstanding. I can't have the haircut I really want, which is the number 2 clippers. All the hair goes, same haircut. Done in about 6 minutes. Heidi says I look like a murderer.
Well, you do.
And Heidi knows all about what they look like.
I do.
Yep. Most serial killers, they get up in the morning, they plan their day of killing, but before they leave the house, they put on the number 2 clippers and they give themselves one specific haircut and they look in the mirror and they say,
Henry,
I look like Henry Rollins.
You do know that when you shave your head and have your crazy Manson eyes, when you walk down the street, you've seen people move to the other side. You've experienced it. Let's face it.
Well, now I look like a banker.
No, you don't. I don't think you could ever look like a banker with those arms.
Okay, so Heidi May, you have 2 index cards full of stuff. I have no idea what's on the cards. Is it things you want me to talk about? Is there anything you'd like to bring up before we go into whatever you're going to throw me into?
Well, we've gotten very nice email, and we've gotten some good suggestions.
We do. And just so you all know, we get the mail, and we read everything. And the suggestions are not only, even if they weren't good, thanks anyway, but they are good.
They are good.
And we've been writing them all down. And so... do we get to them or not? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But there's not one of them where I didn't go, you know what? I'll talk about that right now. And so we are going to do our best to, keep this interesting, but we're going to do our best to get at those things that you want to know about.
Yeah, you can email us at two1361@aol.com. Yes, AOL.
Yeah, Heidi's all righteous about AOL.
We've had it forever. Why leave?
We've had that email address since 1993.
Exactly. It was before I got here.
Yeah.
So
my hair was dark.
This is...
I stood up straight. I walked. I was good. Everything was good in the world. And then around 1996 or 7, I hear... And that was a broomstick pulling into the driveway. And it's an old office building on Hollywood Boulevard, triple locked. And I hear, like, my goodness, something without a key is magically unlocking the doors. And then, sulfur. Why, it's something coming in, a shapeshifter, coming from the bowels of hell. And that's when I met little Heidi May.
Oh, shut up. Seriously.
Then I went gray, started limping, knees started hurting.
You started limping because I said to you, something's wrong with your leg. Let me make an appointment because it needs to be looked at. And you wouldn't go. And 5 years later, when someone else said to you, a male said to you, what's wrong with your leg? You said, oh, maybe I should go. And by then it was too late to fix.
So you kind of have it right there, Heidi May. You said something to me and I started limping. It was one of your evil commands.
No, it wasn't.
I must say, I can't stand the power that you command. I hate that you're right about everything.
No, I'm not.
I hate that your idea is always the best one.
That's not true either.
Yes, it is. I'm learning to live with it. Okay, old buddy.
Well, Henry, we have a sponsor.
Oh, okay. Yes, we do. The idea of an ad or a sponsor is almost automatically rejected just from what I know. And what I don't want this to turn into, like, Heidi and Henry, brought to you by insert major corporation here. And now, here's your favorite duo. It's Heidi and Henry. I don't want to do that. So we have a wonderful woman that we're working with. Can we say her name?
Kelly Mullen.
Okay, so Kelly's amazing, and she's so helpful, and she's so smart. Anyway, she knows a person who was looking for a cool podcast to place his thing on. And so she said, can I send, it's an application, it's an app. Can I send it to you guys and see if you like it? And I like the idea. The only way we would have a sponsor on this show or advertise, whatever you want to call it, is if it's something that either one of the two of us or both of us use already or would use if we had the opportunity to, because then we can be honest.
Yeah.
Kelly generously sends over this app, Mojave, MojaveApp.com, mojaveapp.com. And very, very briefly, it is a free. It's a free application. You open it up, and basically it opens up in your browser, and it allows you to take any website that you go to and custom make columns. And just so you can kind of sort of imagine what's on my page, I have one entire column of nothing but independent record store websites that I go to all the time, like Castleface or Discord or Ipecac. I have a bunch of band websites, band camp sites, so I can get the new download or whatever, all in a column. Different things on Discogs and eBay, all in a column. Social networking, one thing. Or information websites, BBC World News, etc., all in columns. That page remains open all day and allows me to click on that one, click on that one, click on that one, rather than scroll down from a bar. It's just sitting like a big front page of information. I tuck it into the right lower corner of my screen. It's always there. Super handy, saves me a lot of time. It's just a no-brainer, common sense thing that you wish Mojave app was around, 10 years ago when you started opening up a ton of things at once or going back and forth between 3 websites every 5 minutes. And so it's mojaveapp.com. So there you go.
All right. So this was a request that came in, and he would like to talk about some of your collaborations. We're going to do one at a time because I don't want to rush them.
There's been a lot of them thinking about it.
Yeah. And so today I would like to start with one of our favorite people in the world.
All right.
RuPaul.
Oh, this is an interesting story. Okay, great. This is an interesting story because there's a little bit of frustration in it. In 1993, yes, I believe it was 1993, we're at band practice, or maybe it's 95, somewhere in there, 94, 95, 95. Early work is being done on a record that would eventually become Come In and Burn. We are practicing at a rehearsal place in New York at First and A called Context. I don't know if it's still there. Big room, a lot of big rooms in this kind of big warehousey building. I'm in the front lounge waiting for my bandmates to get to work. And this very tall, good-looking, kind of male model guy walks in. He goes, "Henry Rollins." I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "I'm RuPaul." I'm like, whoa. Because you're used to seeing, the dress, the wig, the whole production. But it's just a man in a pair of shorts, in a T-shirt. And he goes, I have a band, and I work down the hall from you. I said, damn. And then you look at him, you start recognizing, you're like, oh, of course, there's the eyes, you see the cheekbones, and then you recognize him. And we sat down and started talking. And I said, I'm a fan of yours, man. I said, I don't know if you remember, but I used to be in a band called Black Flag. And he goes, yeah, of course. I said, a long time ago, like 1985 or thereabouts, 85, 86, you and I were on the cover of a fanzine, like out of Atlanta or New Orleans. And I said, I think it's in Get in the Van. And he said, really? I said, yeah. And it's you. You've got all the crazy paint on your face, and I'm all sweaty. And it says, Henry Rollins, Hex Creep, RuPaul, Sex Freak. And he didn't remember, but I said, yeah, you and I have been together on the front of a fanzine like 100 years ago. And then my bandmates come in and I said, hey guys, meet RuPaul. And they're like, wow. And everyone liked him. He's just a really good guy. He's very smart, really funny, has a lot of insight. And he's just a cool person to hang around. So we all got along with RuPaul, and we'd see him all the time because he had a band. I don't know what that was about really, but they were rehearsing for something. And I'd run into him now and then at Context, and we kind of sort of became friends. And so at some point, 1995 or 6, I was somewhere, and a guy from, I'm thinking A&M Records, and forgive me if I got this part wrong, he said, I have an idea. I want to propose to you. We are doing a tribute record to one-hit wonder bands, and we want you to be involved. I said, what, sing some song by some band who made one hit and disappeared? He goes, yeah. And I go, okay, pitch me. Because I just can't, I can tell I'm not liking it, but I want to hear the guy out. He's interested in me. So he said, Funky Town by Lip Sync. I said, I know the song. He said, you guys, your band, plus RuPaul. And I said yes before well, yes, of course. I mean, yes, of course. Yeah. So he went, great, I'll get to work. So I got him in touch with management or something. And I went to band practice the next day. And I said, guys, Funky Town by Lips Inc. with RuPaul. And they all went, oh, we're there. Like, no problem. Everyone, unanimous approval. I figured that would be a smash hit with those guys. And so Melvin said, I'll produce it. I really have an idea of how it should sound. And none of us did. So we said, Melvin, it's you, because he's a good producer. And so phone calls were made. Theo Van Rock, our sound man, he gets involved. Studio time is booked. I'm well out of the picture. I'm just trying to learn the song. But Melvin, management, and Theo took care of logistics. The track gets laid down, and we now are at the point where it's me and RuPaul doing our vocals. We find out very quickly that RuPaul can sing, and he can do kind of anything with his voice. You know me. I've got on and off. I have no real range. So RuPaul does the, will you take me to? And I go, Funky Town, because that's about all I got. And there'll be some horsing around in the meantime. Between verses, we'll be kind of like, hey, what do you think of this or that? And so we're doing the vocals. RuPaul's finished his. I finished mine. But we need to do the big ride out, like this big vamp where the two of us are going to voulez-vous. Theo is engineering the session. He goes, all right, you guys, get in the vocal booth. So RuPaul and I are slammed into a vocal booth the size of a single shower. So we're just kind of in this locker with a microphone or two mics, I forget. But we're just like immediately sweating on each other. There's not enough air. We do the end of the song kind of goofing around. And Theo looks at us and goes, are you kidding? Crank it up. Well, all right. We do another take. He's like, nope. Come on, you guys. Pump it up. And we just keep getting more, whatever, just goofing off more. And by this last take, the one that Theo approved, I said something like, so let's, RuPaul said, I'm so funky, I need a shower. And I said, let me wash you down. He went, oh. Can I? And he said, can I call you Hank? And I said, I think you've done this before. And I said, let's get in the shower and watch the steam come off our bodies. He goes, oh, yes, baby. It's insanely funny. And I look through the glass at Theo, and Theo gives us the thumbs up. He goes, that was the one. And so it gets mixed. Melvin mixes it with I think the P-Funk horns are on it. I mean, it's crazy. And then we gave it to management, and management sends it to some like serious remix guy whose name I'm forgetting. Forgive our phone, folks. Like he's a famous remix guy. And the guy comes back with this amazing remix with motorcycle engine noise and all these extra beats. I mean, it's like this marvelous production. So anyway, management sends the finished tracks to the label. The label is floored by the work we've done and says, this will be the lead video. We're going to lead with this. Do you have any ideas for a video? And my mind immediately, I go right to Las Vegas to a catwalk with dancing girls, but it's all about RuPaul. He's the eye candy.
He is the lead showgirl.
Yeah. And so it's all going to be about him with beautiful women behind him and maybe me in the band or in the background, or it's a duet and we're surrounded by just too much glitzy opulence where it's like camp. It has to be over the top. And management loved the idea. I think the label loved the idea. And someone gave me a cassette of the final sequence. David Hasselhoff, is that his first name? David? Baywatch.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
David Hasselhoff is on it, doing a Duran Duran song, I think.
Was Duran Duran on it?
I think Duran Duran's on it, doing something else. It was really cool. And it held up. I mean, the song sounded really good. Hasselhoff, I'm forgetting the exact song he did. He was really good. And not that Duran Duran's a one-hit wonder. Maybe Duran Duran was on it doing something else because they were anything but a one-hit. But Hasselhoff is on it. And like bigger names than you think were going to show up were on this thing. You're like, wow, I'm in good company. And our track sat really well in there. So it's a good record. We're all excited. Everyone's excited. The only people who aren't excited is DreamWorks. DreamWorks is about to put out Come In and Burn. They find out there's going to be another single. They're going to launch a single from our record, video, the whole 9 yards. Another record on another major label is going to release a record where the Rollins Band is also the lead single. I don't think DreamWorks liked our album. Our A&R guy heard the RuPaul track and probably went, oh, this is really good and it's going to kick the ass off the Rollins Band single. So our A&R guy calls management and says, we have a problem. My bosses do not want that record, the compilation, competing with Come In and Burn. And we want you to pull the track from the compilation. Like, really? We did all this work. We spent all this money, not ours. And we made a beautiful, 4.5 minute killer. It's you've heard it, Heidi. Not many people have heard it.
It's so fun.
It's really good. And I'm not into bragging on myself, but
it is.
Yeah, and I'm the least interesting part of it. RuPaul carries it. I mean, he really carries it. Anyway, we have to make this decision. Actually, we don't have a decision to make. I'm kind of left in a corner. This is my first record with this label. It's not for me to say no from the get-go. And so with a great amount of regret, I caved in or, decided, yeah, you're right. We'll pull the track.
Couldn't one of the labels have pushed one back? Couldn't DreamWorks have pushed Come In and Burn back?
Good question. I have no idea. And at this point, we're talking almost 20 years ago. And so, put it this way, the damage was done. The track got pulled. The entire compilation record, the tribute record, got shelved because we pulled the track.
The whole thing?
The whole thing got shelved.
Why?
Because they wanted that track. And we said, forget us, put it out. And they went, nope. The record company, they didn't yell at me because I'm the talent. They yelled at Richard, the manager. They yelled at DreamWorks. So there's a bunch of execs screaming at phones. And no one from any labels ever said to me, hey, you suck for that. But I'm sure in some boardroom, they were saying exactly that. So I have to go back to my bandmates with really bad news. Here's what we're not doing.
Were they disappointed?
Yeah, because they all worked hard on it and everyone liked what we were doing. And who doesn't want to be on a track with RuPaul?
Were you the one to tell RuPaul or did someone else tell him?
Good question.
I hope it was you.
I forget how that got told. I'm racking my brain, but I cannot remember that conversation. If we had it, I don't remember it. In any case, RuPaul finds out. It may have been third party because I remember seeing him at band practice afterwards and said, hey, the thing, it's not going to work out. And he was really cool. Like, yeah, okay, I understand. Because, he was probably counting on it for, his press kit. And, he invested in us. And we basically let him down. I mean, It's not his fault. The song isn't on the track, on the compilation. It's our fault. Make that my fault. And so that happens. The Village Voice gets a hold of this information. And they read it. They have an interesting reading of it. And they put it out in their newspaper as Rollins Band does a track with RuPaul, but DreamWorks is afraid of tarnishing Henry Rollins's macho image, so they chose to pull the track.
Come on.
Which is ridiculous. Which morphs into Henry Rollins is homophobic and pulled the track from the record because he didn't want to be on the compilation with a prominent gay person.
Okay, wait a minute.
Which is...
If you were homophobic, why would you go in and record with him?
Thank you. And so the whole thing, first off, one thing is a lie. And the second thing is just hurtful and wrong. Because the real reason is the least interesting of all. Money, bottom line, budget.
Always.
DreamWorks is about to roll a bunch of money out on this record. They didn't want their bottom line messed with. And as far as a bunch of money people sitting in a room, I understand it. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying I see where someone would come from that point of view and say, can you spare us? Why? We don't want to compete with another major label. We'll be throwing money to negate and neutralize that ad campaign. I get it. Anyway, the Village Voice thing, it goes for a couple of weeks. Like, they won't let it go. They're like a dog with something in its mouth.
Wait, so the Village Voice is saying you're homophobic.
Or DreamWorks is afraid of tarnishing my macho image. The whole thing got convoluted.
But didn't the Village Voice, I could be wrong, at one time say that you were gay?
Yes.
So which one is it?
Right.
Are you gay or are you homophobic?
Right. So you can't be, I don't think you can be both unless you're in denial
You're
about.
actually neither.
Right. And that was the part that was aggravating because I didn't know anyone at the Village Voice where I could call and go like, cut it out. Like you're really barking. First off, you're just wrong. And if you want to know the real reason.
That's just bad journalism.
Yeah. And because no one ever asked me at the Village Voice. No one ever called and said, this is happening. Tell me what's happening. And I would have said, DreamWorks is worried about their bottom line, their budget, and competing against another record. Oh, because that's all it was.
But that's not juicy enough for...
I guess. And so anyway, the thing got kind of ugly for a few weeks, and it's all on me. And there's no good part of it. The song's not coming out. I'm either some guy with a macho image or I'm a homophobe. Neither is anything you want to deal with. Meanwhile, I got band practice, and I'm just trying to, there's a lot going on. So at one point, I'm standing in the front lounge of the practice place waiting for the guys to limp into work, and the phone rings. It's a woman from Village Voice. And I said, she knows where I practice. It's a small town. I said, yeah. Would you like to elaborate on this thing that we're about to release? Like we're going to put this thing out, and would you like to comment on it? And she reads me this thing that they're about. I'm like, that's wrong. Like, what are you doing? And I've known this woman for years, a long time. I said, you know me. Like, why are you doing this? And it's like I never met her. She's like, is that your statement to the Village Voice? I'm like, who are you right now? Like, it's me. Anyway, at that moment, RuPaul walks in. And I go, hey, RuPaul, come here, man. And I said, there's a person from the Village Voice on the phone. Hey, RuPaul, do you have a problem with me? And he goes, no. I go, and there you have it. Print whatever you're going to print. I don't know what this is about now.
What did they end up printing?
I forget, but it went on for quite a while because I was back in L.A., and a guy at my office would get the Village Voice sent to him, or his friend would read whatever column I was in. And he goes, my friend just gave me the Village Voice. I go, am I in it again this week? He goes, dude, it's brutal. I'm like, damn, man. What is it? Because there's a lot of things to flame me about because I'm no angel. I'm one of the biggest jerks ever. But what you're saying is not true. And so I was luckily able to repair the thing with RuPaul because I really liked RuPaul a lot. And it's a friendship that has survived to this day. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's been to this office. You've hung out with him right where we're sitting right now.
That was one of the happiest days of my life.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
And you know, he's a really cool guy.
Sweet.
And I think that at the end of the day, when the big book gets written, RuPaul, I think, is a very important person in American culture because the idea of cross-dressing, drag queens, the LGBT community, that has been going through a lot of challenges and a lot of awfulness, but at the same time, good things, in that we can have these discussions with more clarity and less, ew, more like, yeah, my friend's gay, who cares? And like Bill and Tom should get married. Like
Absolutely.
it really shouldn't be an issue. And I think RuPaul is one of the people who helped break in many Americans to the idea of a guy dressing like a woman and being feminine if he feels that's his way of going through life, that's okay. And it's kind of hard for a smart person to think that some handsome man dressed as a woman on a TV show could affect American culture more than you might think unless you really sit down and think about it. And I think RuPaul is very important in that he's had some serious impact on the American psyche, not in the entertainment world, not like a president or a member of Congress, but for someone culturally like Lady Gaga or Madonna, who are, again, entertainers. They're not signing treaties or putting laws into action, but they do affect how people consider themselves and each other, and they are an ingredient in the society in which we all live. There's no way RuPaul is not part of that conversation.
He's an icon.
Yes.
An important one.
And he's helping America evolve.
Well, and I think he's helping the young man or woman who's afraid to come out.
Yep. Oh, he and I have had some really intense conversations. We sit and we get into some heavy stuff. And we talk sometimes about the mail we get, and he gets mail. Can you imagine? Like, I'm suicidal, but RuPaul, you give me strength. Like you give me the courage to come out, or I want to dress up, and thanks to you and your show, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to send you a photo. He says he gets bucketed by mail all over the world. And I'm not surprised. And I said, let me guess. It's like this, and this. He said, yeah. Like you're my hero. You gave me courage. And if someone can do that for someone else, damn, you're lucky to have crossed paths. Mm-hmm. And so to have any kind of gray area between me and RuPaul as far as being pals, that would really hurt me. Like if he thought I was homophobic or any of that. So this whole collaboration, that's what the topic is. There's a good chance you'll never hear it. I'm saying you, the wonderful listener, unless something changes. And I was told very sternly, do not give this out. And I haven't. Ian does not have a copy. You don't have a copy. It's sitting on this hard drive, and that's it. There's a copy in the record room on DAT, just some kind of corny backup. And I don't even know if the band members have a copy. Maybe RuPaul has a copy. I have no idea. It's a topic we never bring up when we talk. And it was one of the coolest collaborations I've ever been involved with. And the irony is, there's a good chance you're not going to hear it. And
Wait,
maybe
how long ago was it?
This was like damn near 20 years ago.
Why don't you just play it, see what happens?
I would, if before I did it, I'm not necessarily afraid of the ramifications. What we should do maybe one day is we should just check the internet and type in RuPaul Henry Rollins Funky Town and see if it maybe
You
has
know
been
what?
leaked.
It probably has.
Well, you never know.
I hope so.
Me too. I can't, in all good consciousness, leak it. But if someone did leak it, hey, man, I can't stop that. But anyway, it is really cool. And unless something changes or it's been leaked, I've never checked, actually. You might not hear it. But of all the collaborations I've done, and for kind of a solo guy, I've done them. Now that you bring it up, I've done a lot. But that one might be the most memorable one. Like if you had to say, play something you did with someone else who wasn't in your band, I'd play you that one first of the many that I've done. That one would be number one with a bullet.
I feel honored that I've gotten to hear it.
Yeah, I snuck it in. KCRW, back when I was fab at KCRW, I used to do the Halloween party. I did for like a few years. Big fun, huge fun. It's a great event. And it's a bunch of people yelling and jumping up and down in a room. And I flew that into the mix. And it's so noisy. People are just yelling and having a great time. I don't think anyone really noticed. Like no one, because you can't record it because there's a bunch of people yelling. But no one said, hey, is that thing you did? They just said, hey, man, great set. And I was, thanks. And I just went in my car and went home. But I did that in October of 2009. I just snuck it in because I figured no one's going to be listening to me anyway.
But at least you got to play it.
Got to play it. And so that's the coolest collaboration that you might never hear. All the other ones have been released. There's another one that never came out. And it's pretty damn cool, but obviously it'll wait for another day. It might be a twofer because that's kind of a storiette.
Well, do you want to do it now?
It's 5 whole minutes.
Okay, come on.
Okay, we have just enough time. We don't want to make these podcasts too long. Okay, at one point, Flea from the Chili Peppers, just one of the more amazing guys on all levels, good guy, good bass player. He said to me, hey, you want to get together and jam with Stephen Perkins? And he said, because sometimes we just get together, we just want to play, and we just start playing. And I said, well, yeah, okay, what's that going to be? And so we went over to Stephen Perkins' house, and it was Perkins at that, I don't know where he lives now, but this place he was living, this would be 1992, somewhere like that. So we drive over in Flea's spray-painted Mercedes-Benz. He took a Mercedes-Benz and just went to town on. You're like, really? You're a maniac. Anyway, we go over there, and we're in this small room, and I believe it was me, Flea, Steve Perkins, and Dave Navarro. And I think a Jane's Addiction or Steve Perkins tech who set up the mics. And they kind of mic the drums, mic the instruments, and mic me in this small practice room. And we just, like, Perkins hit it, and we just started, like, riffing out big, huge, riffs. And I'm just yelling, and we're just going off. And we soaked ourselves with sweat and played for a solid 60, 75 minutes. We're just making noise. We're just like, ready to go. And we're just like rocking out. And it wasn't like, okay, we're writing songs. We're not trying to be a band. But Flea said, I go and jam with Perkins all the time. Flea wants to play all the time. He's the real thing. And he goes, you should come out sometime and do it with us. I'm like, well, I won't say no to that. I love these guys. I mean, I'm such a fan of all these musicians. I said, I'll be the weak link in the chain, but I'll try it out. And we jumped into this room and made this hellacious din. And it kind of did sound like a sum of the parts. It kind of like a scoop of this and a scoop of that all stirred up in a pot. And I think I got a dad of it that Perkins gave me later at some point. And I don't know if I've ever played it. And I think it's in the record room.
Oh, you gotta whip that out. I want to hear that.
Yeah, I'll have to dig it out. I mean, Flea might have a copy. But we did that. It was this one afternoon, and then we all hung out for a minute in Perkins' living room, and then Flea and I drove back into Hollywood, and he dropped me off. And there was just this cool afternoon, and the only people who saw it were us in the room and like one or two tech guys who were just kind of helping set up gear. I guess they were just either friends of the guys or they worked for one of the bands. And that just happened. And for guys like that, they probably jam with all kinds of people all the time. But for me, no one's coming over saying, hey, come and sing with us, because you really don't want, it's just not really not a phone call you want to make.
It's not that, but you're not very social either. Let's face it.
Yeah, but let's face the fact that my vocal limitations far eclipse my talent.
You have what they call style, Henry.
Just like that. But that happened. And I just remembered it now. And it was one of those, you look around the room like, am I really in this room? This is amazing. And Perkins, he's just so amazing. To watch him jam with Flea, which, later would be, he was in a version of Jane's Addiction in 97. I flew to Miami to watch that show. It was just a fun afternoon.
That's a good rhythm section.
Oh, ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was just a good afternoon.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You're lucky. You've
Super
gotten
lucky.
to do some really cool stuff.
Yes, I have.
You lucky sucker.
That's why I can never be, Heidi May, especially with you around the office, I can never be too glum, because by golly, it's been an interesting life.
You do have an interesting life.
And also, Heidi, how else have you characterized my life? You haven't said it for a while.
Well, I used to say you have a weird little life,
Henry Rollins, you have a weird little life.
Weird little life.
You leave,
and I mean that in the best way.
Yeah, super positive weirdo. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I did not know about the flea, and I didn't know that story.
I just remembered it now. I haven't thought of that.
I like being surprised by your stories.
Yeah, that one surprised me. I haven't thought of that for a long time.
Well, at least you got a recording out of it. You got to pull that out.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that.
Cool.
Anyway.
Oh, Henry.
Uh-huh.
Can I have the jackhammer, please?
Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, the request for the jackhammer can only mean one thing. And this is how it feels walking into the office every morning. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that sound can only mean it's time for another one of Heidi's Headlines. Henry writes a song for Heidi May, and it's called Heidi is a Big Fat Unit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that we have talked about this topic before. Heidi and I are going to have to agree to disagree, although I don't think she'll agree that we disagree. She'll just say that I've done this and I say that I have not. Heidi insists that I've called her or characterized her as a big fat unit. I have not done this.
You did too.
I have not. Anyway, at one point, we were driving to the restaurant to eat, and she said, the big unit needs to eat. And I said, yeah, sure. And I said, and then I had a moment of inspiration. I said, and you know what? I've written a song about it. And she said, let's hear it. So here it is. In the spirit of Phil Hendry's amazing character, Margaret Gray, I'm going to count the song off in the way Margaret Gray would do it. 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Heidi's the big fat unit. She'll eat at her command. Heidi's the big fat unit. She'll eat right out of your hand. She's bigger than big, big, fatter than fat, fat. Ready to eat a meal at all times. Heidi May, Heidi May. Heidi May is the big fat unit. She'll eat at her command. Heidi May is the big fat unit. She'll eat right out of your hand.
Oh, God, it's so good.
And obviously you know where the melody comes from. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That's kind of all I got. And Heidi thought it was very, very funny.
I love it.
And so that was today's Heidi's Headline. So
thanks for listening.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for writing. And you can follow Henry on Twitter at Henry Rollins. Not Rawlings.
Yeah.
Rollins.
Until your feet get tired. Until next week, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Dead air. Dead air.
Come on, where's the puns? We are so rickety.
Yeah.
We are so rickety.
Of course, we leave Heidi's mic on so when she puts her index cards and her headphones down, you can hear it hit on the table.
I thought it was done.
No, smooth move. Yay.
X-laps.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it. As I fade out the applause and we're still talking, wow, this really, nice water bottle going down on the desk.